Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, February 25th Town Council meeting. Call us to order. Ms. Peters Garcia, will you take the roll?
Yes. Mayor Robert Oxmacher.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Wagner.
Here.
Councilmember Jeremy Holt. Councilmember Bill Jenkins.
Here.
Councilmember Lisa Lake. Here.
Very good. We have 4 members present. Councilmember Holt's absence is excused. He's out of town this evening. We will begin. Councilor, are there any requests to amend the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to our presentation item, which I'm very excited about this evening, which is our State of the Town address. We're trying out a new format this year. So instead of the 5 of us drowning on up here, we have produced a short video, which I'm very excited about. My hope is that this will be a little more accessible to the community, and we will push this out, of course, on all of our social media channels. And so please encourage folks to check that out. Before we play that, I just want to take a moment. 2024 was obviously a very busy year for our town. I first wanted to acknowledge all the hard work of each of the council members here. I feel extremely fortunate to work with such a great group of people. This is a group that is very interested in transparency, very interested in good communication, and very interested in doing what's right for our community. I appreciate all the extra work that everyone puts in. Every one of you is on at least one, and many of you multiple different subcommittees and community committees, all of which are accomplishing really exciting things. So I appreciate that. Also note that we are one of the remaining all volunteer councils in Northern Colorado. So I know being here means that each of you are taking time away from your families and the other things that are important. And I really appreciate that. I also wanted to take a moment to recognize our great staff here, beginning with Aaron Adams, our town manager, and everybody else. We have had just a tremendous year in terms of bringing on board a series of exceptional directors. And Timnath really is, I think, firing on all cylinders now, and I appreciate the hard work of everyone. This year, Chief got police coverage to 24/7. Very much appreciate that. Public Works and Engineering have been extremely busy getting broadband teed up and ready to go, as well as advancing some major street projects. Our Community Development Group is working harder than ever. I particularly wanted to reach out and thank the efforts related to our Old Town Steering Committee and the work that's gone into that. Parks and Rec is really taking off in terms of adding just incredible programming. And as we've seen the last couple of meetings, the discussion in bringing a rec center to town is really ramping up. That's not easy. These are additional projects that we're asking staff to take on, and I really appreciate that. And then, of course, finance this year transitioned to a new system, which brings a lot of efficiencies to us, and also won a prestigious award. So thank you. This is a team effort, and I'm so proud to be a part of this team, and want to thank all of you for that. So with that, I present the 2024 State of the Town video.
Welcome to the 2025 State of the Town. We've been busy here at the town. Let's start by talking about the incredible strides we've made in infrastructure projects, community engagement efforts, and much more. Here's a quick recap of our top achievements and what's on the horizon. 2024 was a monumental year for Timnath. We're excited to share that we've made major progress on advancing broadband infrastructure, moving forward with the bridge project, and engaging residents through community surveys on yourtimnath.org. These efforts help us better serve our growing town. And let's not forget about our police services. Our 24/7 police coverage ensured continued safety and security for everyone. In 2024, we focused on thoughtful growth and planning. So you might ask, what does that mean? Well, it started with the approval of 3 land use amendments in order to keep our code up to date, address technical and legal needs, and ensure new developments that align with Timnath's policies and visions. What will 2025 bring? We're excited to begin work on the comprehensive plan update, explore new community engagement opportunities, and formulate a clear roadmap for our future.
Coloradoans love to be active, especially the people of Timnath. That's why we've invested in parks and recreation priorities this year. If you haven't had an opportunity to explore the exciting upgrades, please check out Wild Wing's new park, including pickleball courts, dog park, playground, and basketball courts. We are proud of the expansion of our trail system, including the connection between Timnath and Fort Collins, and enhancement of recreation programming, particularly youth sports. What's next for Parks and Recreation? We have the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Master Plan, or PROST, which will lay the foundation for future parks, trails, and recreational opportunities, which of course benefits the entire community.
In 2024, prioritizing responsible financial management was important to us, enabling us to set up our community for future success and security. Here are some highlights. We balanced the 2025 budget. We developed a robust capital improvement plan, prioritizing long-term infrastructure projects like building renovation, road repairs, and equipment upgrades. We maintained strong financial reserves. We also are proud to share some exciting news. The town of Timnath earned the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for our 2023 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. This is the first time Timnath has received this prestigious honor.
Public Works paved the way for success this past year, delivering a journey as smooth as our roads. Here's what we've accomplished. We launched Timnath's first pavement management program using roadway data from the Geographic Information Systems, or GIS. We advanced the Neighborhood Traffic Calming Program with a federal grant set to roll out in 2025. We're also excited to have partnered with Loveland Pulse to expand broadband infrastructure. This service will provide our residents with faster and improved internet service.
Thank you to our incredible community. Your support, encouragement, and dedication are what make Timnath such a vibrant and thriving town. Stay connected by following us on social media, subscribing to our newsletter, and joining us as we continue to make Timnath a wonderful place to live, work, and play. I'm looking forward to all the great projects this year. Let's make 2025 even better together.
For your work on this. Very good. All right. Next, we have public comment. Has anyone signed up this evening? Okay. Is there anyone present who has not signed up but would like to address council this evening? I see no one, so we will move on now to our consent agenda, which consists this evening of 4 items. First, approval of the February 11th, 2025 Town Council minutes. Second, Resolution 12, Series 2025, a resolution approving the purchase of a 2025 Ram 3500 tradesman truck from Fort Collins Dodge Chrysler Jeep. Third, Resolution 13, Series 2025, a resolution approving 2025 municipal law agreement. And finally, Resolution 14, Series 2025, resolution approving the purchase of an HX30A vacuum excavator from Ditch Witch of the Rockies. Council, are there any requests to pull an item from consent agenda? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as read signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Consent agenda passes 4-0. We will now move on to reports, beginning with Councilmember Lake. Councilmember Jenkins?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Wagner?
No, thank you.
No. And, wow, this is the first I also don't have anything to say. So very good. Finance report, Ms. Gagliardi. Okay, council, any questions? Okay. Public Works, Director Stone.
Yeah, so this wasn't in your packet, but about a year ago, I remember council approved the Kector Road and Main Street Waterway and Bridge Improvement Reimbursement Agreement was February 13th. Doesn't seem like it's been a year. But if you've been out to Kector, you'll notice a lot of work's been going on there. An agreement, the signal, the Ladera development would put in a signal within 18 months from the effective date. So we're way ahead of schedule on that. We want to thank the Ladera team. So if you notice out there, there's a lot of work going on. So that's what we're working on. The projected timeline is the spring, have it complete. So that'd be way ahead of the August timeframe. So that's all I have unless you have any other questions on the report.
You know, I did want to ask if there's an update with the railroad and the Parkway crossing.
Well, I don't know if is Kim in the back, so I don't know if she left. Oh, yeah. Yeah, do you want to give an update on that real quick at the podium?
So we do have some good news. Our railroad crossing signals have been ordered and are slated to get here in April. So fingers
right.
crossed, we have a tentative date. So we're still anticipating opening the Parkway in the spring. So more to come with that, but we're closely monitoring, so.
Great, great news. Thank you. Council, anything else for Public Works? All right. Community Development, Director Robinson. Council, okay. Parks and Rec, Director Saul.
I just wanted to point something that's not in your report. I sent you guys some information today. We did have a resident mention there was some dead geese at the reservoir and also at the irrigation ponds just outside of Wild Wing on Colorado Boulevard. And so I reached out to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and they did confirm that within Fort Collins and Timnath that they are testing positive for the avian influenza. And they gave me a link to where to go to send public that they have general information, but it's in our best interest just to leave them as is, let nature take its course. But just to make sure the public is aware and keep an eye out. And there's information on the website. I emailed you guys the link. If someone questions, you can just forward them that email that I sent. But it's also on our website. And we did some social media posts as well to try to get the information out.
Great, thank you for that update and communication.
Just a comment over in Timnath Ranch, the ponds over there, there have been local reports of dead geese as well. So
Okay, thank you.
All right, Police, Chief Jones. Well, no news is good news when it comes to police.
That's the way I see it.
All right. Council, anything? All right. Thank you, Chief. And then finally, Town Manager Adams with an update, quarterly update on the strategic plan.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll touch on just a couple of quick items. This would represent the fourth quarter of 2024. And we have it broken down in a couple of different categories, the first of which is a high-performing government. I would highlight from that our community development folks have set up a schedule for a large number of land use code amendments. Those changes haven't predominantly happened yet, but they use the fourth quarter to help set up some of the logistics from that standpoint. It's a pretty significant effort. And so you'll be seeing those every quarter throughout 2025. We also have infrastructure. This was touched on in the state of the town, but we're certainly proud to have Pulse moving ahead. And in the fourth quarter, all the core routes for Pulse were laid. We also have a healthy community and safety as a goal. The fourth quarter was a big one for progress with Wild Wing Park. We hope to have a grand opening scheduled for that soon. And then finally, fiscal responsibility, which Luke, you actually touched on it in your piece of the State of the Town, but the fourth quarter, we were awarded the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for our annual comprehensive financial report. And that's a mouthful, but a big accomplishment in the first time for our finance team. So kudos to them. And that's a highlight from each of the areas. But there's other highlights out there. It's in the packet. So the public is certainly welcome to check out those for more detail.
Thanks. Council, any questions on the strategic plan update?
And I just want to say I appreciate these updates that are coming in quarterly, and I do like the formatting of this and the tracking. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. Let's now move on to our regular business items. We'll begin with item 7A, resolution number 15, series 2025. Resolution approving the increase to Axon Enterprise Equipment Lease Agreement for 3 Fleet 3 cameras.
Good evening. I didn't prepare a presentation. This would have been on consent, but we received a request from the mayor to put on regular business for discussion. This was competitively procured. It's an amendment to our existing contract with Axon to purchase 3 additional Fleet 3 vehicles for new vehicles for the PD. And the chief and I are available for any questions.
Thank you. And as Ms. Gagliari mentioned, I asked that this one be put on the regular agenda. Chief, I just wanted to check in. The request here is to put essentially vehicle mounted cameras in the 3 new patrol cars. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is this, do we have the same system installed in all of our other cars currently?
It's absolutely identical.
Okay. It looks like the cost to add these 3 is about $300 a month per unit, roughly.
Yeah, it's about $4,000 a year.
Okay.
For the 3.
For the 3.
Right.
How many, is this the same contract that we have for the existing fleet?
It is.
Okay. How many total cars are we equipping with these cameras?
Right now, the 3 we're requesting is for the one at Rec Electric that's being outfitted and the 2 new cars currently under purchase.
Okay. And then what's our existing fleet that we're also paying the $300 a month on?
Yeah, let me give you a breakdown. We have 28 cars in the fleet, but however, 4 of them are due to rotation and they do not have Fleet 3. We have the sergeant's car, a unmarked car, black Tahoe, and a silver truck, which doesn't have Fleet 3. So I think we're about 20 plus 8, 28, and then minus 4 will be about 24 cars.
Okay. Okay. So if my back of the napkin math is right, that's about 86 grand a year that we're paying for this service. Is that roughly correct?
I think it's the 243,000 annually for Fleet 3 and the attachability for, they call it Cradle Point, which unifies everything in our patrol cars from MDTs to the Fleet 3 and the camera systems.
Okay. And then addition to the vehicle mounted stuff, the officers are also carrying like you have the.
Right. And what the advantage is, every time you put your lights on, that activates the front camera. And there's also an added component where it photographs or camera captures everything that goes on in the back seat when we have a prisoner.
You know, my question is what our neighboring jurisdictions are doing. And Are they also outfitting their patrol cars with this separate system, or are some of them just relying on the body mounted cameras?
Well, the Fleet 3 Axon cameras connectability for the in-car camera, and that correlates to our cameras. So when you flip on your overhead lights, the car cameras activate. But additionally, this camera activates. And it's probably a safety feature, but anytime a patrol car drives by an Axon activated camera system, their camera goes on as well. And to answer your question, I believe the county's got the cameras assigned to their traffic unit, which I think there's 5 or 6 units. There's none in Fort Collins, to my knowledge, but they have Axon cameras, but body cameras. I have not heard back from Loveland. Evans has 11 cameras, and I don't know about Greeley. But it's kind of a safety feature as well, because we're so small of an agency and we only have so much coverage at night. It's really a worthwhile situation to be in. And of course, the district attorney's office routinely calls for body camera footage whenever we make a contact or make an arrest.
Okay. Council, any other questions on this?
I like the safety. Agreed.
And what's our storage on these, Chief? How long do we keep this camera footage for?
Well, if it's a case, indefinitely. If we're being unfortunately sued, it's indefinitely until the case is resolved. But on average, a 30-day memory bank.
And that's part of the 243, or is that what you said, 288? I'm sorry.
The storage.
The storage.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's what, oddly enough, costs the most.
Yeah, I imagine so. Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. If there are no further questions, at this time, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 15, series 2025, a resolution approving an increase to Axon Enterprises equipment lease agreement for 3 Fleet 3 cameras.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, move on to discussion, beginning with Councilmember Lake.
I have nothing to add.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I definitely support this. I think I come from the emergency services where we put these cameras. We don't have body cameras on them, but we do put these type of cameras on our vehicles. So I think it's important to have. So I'm going to support this just for safety.
Yeah, I support it as well, from a safety perspective and also from a legal and transparency perspective. It's good to have the data if any issue comes up. So I'm definitely in favor of this.
And I guess I'll start by saying I absolutely recognize the value of having our police interactions captured on camera. The state law requires that they have the body camera on them. The fact that we're also equipping the vehicles with separate cameras is nice. Where I wanted to ask some questions deals with scalability on this. As our fleet continues to grow, I'm wondering if it's practical to have this technology in every single vehicle. I know that some of our neighboring agencies have all their officers equipped with body-worn cameras, but only their high-frequent traffic contact units with the vehicle cameras, their DUI unit, their traffic enforcement units, things like that. So I'm going to support this evening, but I do think it's something that as we continue to grow, we probably want to continue to reevaluate the scalability and if we continue to get the appropriate return on our investment. Any other comments? Yeah. With that, all those in favor of approving resolution number 15, series 2025, a resolution approving an increase to the Axon Enterprise Equipment Lease Agreement for 3 Fleet 3 cameras, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? Carries 4-0. Thank you, Chief. Move on to item 7B, resolution number 16, series 2025, a resolution approving a temporary construction easement agreement and a permanent water easement agreement with the Northern Integrated Supply Project Water Activity Enterprise, NISP, on town-owned property known as Wild Wing Park. Mr. Smith.
Not accustomed to the technology, apologize. Tonight we present resolution number 16, series 2025, which is a resolution approving a temporary construction easement and a permanent water easement agreement with the Northern Integrated Supply Project Water Activity Enterprise on town-owned property known as Wild Wing Park. To give everyone a little orientation, you can see Colorado Boulevard running north and south on the right side of the picture, Wild Wing Drive on the north. Of course, that's Wild Wing Park before it was improved. The yellow line represents a rough approximation of where the easements will be located. They will be immediately adjacent to the Colorado Boulevard right-of-way on the west side. With this, there would be a 40-foot temporary construction easement, and that's covered in the temporary construction easement deed. A 60-foot permanent water line easement in the easement deed, and also approval of a memorandum of agreement. And the memorandum of agreement kind of outlines the terms and conditions of the sale, including the compensation for the temporary easement and the permanent easement. And there's also a sort of an incentive payment for approval. And I want to commend Carolyn for negotiating these terms. She reviewed the documents. We reached back out to NISP. They agreed to all of Carolyn's changes, including adding back in the incentive payment, which had actually expired probably a month ago. So with this project, NISP would construct a 48-inch steel water pipeline. The earliest that would probably occur is summer of 2026, but it's also possible that could occur in 2027. So we're out ahead of this quite a ways. NISP would pay the town just under $45,000 for these easements. And I think the key item for a lot of us on staff was that NISP agrees to restore the surface of the ground if they have to go in there and do some maintenance or work. So obviously, when they first construct the water line, they have to restore the surface. But at some point, we're going to build a parking lot through there, do some landscaping. If they have to go back in after we've made those improvements, they will restore the surface. So they'll repair the parking lot, the landscaping, whatever it is. So that was very important to us. With that, we recommend approval of the resolution. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Council questions?
Yeah. Could you tell me why the temporary easement is 40 foot and the permanent is 60 foot? Why is it so much wider on the permanent easement?
So the temporary construction easement is right next to it. So during construction, they'll have a total of 100 feet to work in. So typically on a water line of this size, they're going to put the water line at the 1/3 point of the easement. So this is a 60-foot permanent easement. It'll be 20 feet from one edge, most likely the western edge. But during construction, you have a total of 100 feet.
Got it. Thank you.
So, Earl, what happens if we don't agree to this? What would happen?
Carolyn, you want to take that one?
Well, so they do have a right of condemnation being a water district. And when they made the offer, part of the offer was that they were prepared to seek condemnation if they needed to. When you're condemning a public property, I think then there's a balancing of interests that the courts do in determining whether to approve the condemnation. And then you're entitled to just value, fair market value.
So it's possible that if we don't agree to this, that part of our park could not be up to us or how they resurface it if so we worked into the agreement that they would restore the original surface improvements, right? So that was part of our agreement. So it's better to have this be part of it, right? And go into this negotiations with that, right?
Yeah, that is one of the changes that we asked for. Their first offer said, had both parties splitting 50-50 if they had to make changes to the improvements. So if they go forward with condemnation, they may go back to the original easement agreement. They may also ask for this revised easement agreement, but I think you could definitely be in a situation where there'd be an eminent domain action.
Okay. Thank you.
Carolyn or Earl, whoever's best suited, do we arrive at this price? How do we know that this is a reasonable price?
It's based on fair market value. So typically they'll do appraisals or just have a professional do an analysis to arrive at the fair market value.
And I think that they did provide, Earl, didn't they provide us with an appraisal that backed up the price
Yes.
that they were offering?
Yes.
And then was it 50% of the value of the land, do you
Yeah,
recall?
So typically on an easement, you don't pay full market value. It's a percentage. The permanent easement is roughly 50% of the purchase value. And the temporary easement obviously is short term, so that's much less, but it's based on a percentage of the value.
I have more questions.
Go ahead.
Tom, do you have any concerns about this with Wild Wing or anything through this process?
No, we had a chance to review it, and as long as we don't lose the ability to put that parking lot in, and if they have to come back and do repairs, they're going to repair it back too. So it's actually in our favor. That's in the agreement that they'll repair any improvements that we make.
Thank you.
So that to be clear, that also means we're not going to put a parking lot in until they do the original construction, which could be 2027, correct?
I believe we're going to, design in 2026 and build in 2027 and 28, I believe.
Okay, so post installation of the pipeline.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else? This time, is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, so that's a motion to approve Resolution 16, Series 2025, resolution approving a temporary construction easement agreement and a permanent water easement agreement with the Northern Integrated Supply Water Project Activity Enterprise on town-owned property known as Wildwood. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, council discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna, obviously, since I moved to approve this, the reason why I'm in support of this is I think that being in a contract that is in our favor, at least to have favorable terms, I'm going to support this.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's negotiated and meets our needs as well as theirs, I'll support it.
I will also support it. All those in favor of approving the resolution approving the temporary construction easement with NISP signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Easement is approved 4-0. move on to item 7C, resolution number 17, series 2025, a resolution approving Wild Wing Tract A access easement. Director Excel.
Yes, thank you. So this is more just a matter of general housekeeping. We Timnath or Wild Wing Park, we obtained the land for this property. But there was already some existing infrastructure that was put in by the builder at the time, one being a monument sign and one being an irrigation line. So by allowing them to have this this easement, it's just like I said, a general housekeeping because the infrastructure is already on town-owned property. By doing so, we do retain the right of ownership. There's no new improvements shall be constructed or installed on the access easement without prior written consent of the town. And then it ensures construction, repair, replacement of, or maintenance of any of the improvements on this easement, access easement will be restored prior to pre-construction condition. So once again, here's Wild Wing Park, and we're talking about two. So you have two different pictures in your packet, but on the left here, that red line is the existing irrigation line that runs through our property, and we're going to give them a 25-foot easement to be able to do work on that. And the other one is the landscaping and the monument sign up on Wild Wing Drive and Colorado Boulevard. So like I said, it's just pretty much general housekeeping, giving them just kind of a more of a legal permission to work on our property. So.
All right, questions? And Tom, I was going to ask, is there compensation associated with this?
I believe there was Carolyn explained it to me once before on what the value is, but it was more of a, I'll let you explain it.
Actually, I think that might have been for a different one. So there's not compensation, and the reason is because the improvements are already installed and the Metropolitan District paid for the installation of the improvements, and this is really just providing them access to maintain those improvements. It's also a homeowner-controlled Metropolitan District, so I think that they probably have limited resources to pay for an easement. So I think this was always the intent, that they would have an easement to access and maintain those improvements without having to compensate the town for that.
And going back to the Wild Wing Park itself, did we purchase that, or was that essentially deeded over to the town as part of the?
I believe that one was deeded.
It's been town property since probably anyone in staff in this room has been with the town. So I don't know if any of us could speak authoritatively to it.
I guess my point is, if they essentially gave it to the town for free, then demanding payment for an easement may not be reasonable, is the point I was trying to make. Council, any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 17, Series 2025, a resolution approving the Wild Wing Tract A access easement?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The reason just stated, I think it makes sense. Seems like the neighborly thing to do. So all those in favor of approving the resolution approving a Wild Wing Tract A access easement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? Carries 4-0. We will now move on to the public hearings portion of our evening. We have one item for public hearing this evening. Unlike the general regular business items, here we'll have a staff presentation, an applicant presentation, and then at that time, anyone from the public who would wish to comment on the proposal may do so, allocating 3 minutes per speaker. After public comment, council will then ask any questions of staff or the applicant, and we would entertain a motion after that. So with that, I will call resolution number 18, Series 2025, a resolution approving the Ladera South sketch plan. Mr. Kemper.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Item 8A is for consideration of a sketch plan application for the Ladera subdivision for real property defined by the Connell LLC annexation number 3. The applicant is TB Group and the owner is Connell LLC. The project area pertaining to the Ladera South sketch plan is a tract located west of and adjacent to County Road 5, north of and adjacent to Kechter Road, and east and west of and adjacent to Weitzel Street. The subject area makes up approximately 179.74 acres of the Ladera subdivision. This application was properly noticed in accordance with Table 2.1 of the Timnath Land Use Code, requiring posted, mailed, and published forms of notification. As noted also in this table on the screen, a neighborhood meeting was required for this application. That meeting was held on July 18th in 2024 to present the proposal to gather feedback and concerns regarding the sketch plan application. However, there were no attendees present. This application was presented to the Planning Commission at the February 18th meeting, where they unanimously recommended approval. And taking a quick glance of where we are in the development review process there on the lower left of the screen, a sketch plan application is the first step within the town's major subdivision review process, which consists of a conceptual layout of the development containing land uses, density, and major circulation, helping guide the scope and vision of the project. Following an approved sketch plan, a property may begin subdividing legal lots through the subsequent platting processes, that being preliminary and final plats. In addition to other applicable provisions of the code, the town shall use the following criteria to evaluate the proposed sketch plan application. Those being: 1, that the land use mix within the project conforms to the town's zoning district map and land use map and furthers the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. The sketch plan represents a functional system of land use and is consistent with the rationale and criteria set forth in this code and the town's comprehensive plan. 3, that the utility and transportation design is adequate, giving existing and planned capacities to those systems. And lastly, negative impacts on adjacent land uses have been identified and satisfactorily mitigated. The project area is zoned regional commercial with the Ladera PD overlay and is designated as employment regional commercial and open space in the town's comprehensive plan. The sketch plan is proposing 10 planning areas for the development of various uses. That includes commercial, retail, office, residential, and open space. The proposal includes approximately 71 acres dedicated for commercial and retail use, 14 acres for mixed use, and 21 acres for multifamily residential. And lastly, 74 acres of open space. Access to the development will include a potential right-in, right-out off County Road 5 and internal access drives off of Weitzel Street. Interconnectivity between planning areas is proposed to improve efficiency and promote a transition between different land uses. So within the document, as you see, all those arrows represent potential ingress, egress within the development. Areas that are represented in orange would be intended for multifamily residential uses. Those represented in blue for a mixed use of business, commercial, and multifamily. Red would be that of commercial and retail. And lastly, the green would represent the open space. So those open space areas will feature a series of multi-use trails and pedestrian connectors to serve both the open space areas and the intended users. 2 pedestrian street crossings of Weitzel Street are proposed to enhance connectivity to the east and west of this subdivision while incorporating traffic calming measures. Additional pedestrian crossings are intended at the existing roundabout to the north of the Ladera subdivision and at the intersection of County Road 5 and Weitzel Street. The open space will be primarily designed around 2 active reservoirs and recharge ponds, which are intended to promote a native habitat and support passive recreation. Those located at the northeast portion of the site and southwest. In addition, the plan is proposing a maximum of 700 residential dwelling units, which would be in alignment with the Regional Commercial Zone District. Those areas would be within Planning Area 6 and Planning Area 7 of the development. So in addition to the town's technical criteria, staff has reviewed the proposal against the subdivision review criteria and finds it to be in conformance in the following ways. In response to criteria item 1, the sketch plan conforms to the town's zoning map and comprehensive plan. Property has the designation of employment, regional, commercial, and open space in the comprehensive plan and a zoning of regional commercial. This plan conforms to both of those documents and meets the permitted land use and standards. In response to criteria item 2, the sketch plan proposal represents a functional system of land use and is consistent with the code and comprehensive plan. The proposed regional commercial land use is compatible with the adjacent land use designations within the comprehensive plan. Response to criteria item 3, at a conceptual level, the sketch plan is demonstrating adequate utility and transportation design. A further understanding and study of those designs will be reviewed at the preliminary and final plat stages. Lastly, in response to criteria item 4, the sketch plan has been designed with consideration to minimize any negative impacts on the adjacent land use and is consistent with the regional commercial development to the north. Access locations have been determined to reduce negative traffic patterns and increase efficiency while providing various forms and modes of transportation within the development. That being said, staff recommends approval of the Ladera South sketch plan. And with that, I will turn it over to Grant Nelson with the applicant team to provide additional information.
Mr. Nelson, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Thank you for having us here tonight. Chad, thank you for the presentation.
1 second, Grant, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, as Justin brought up, I think we were here almost exactly a year ago for annexation. So it's funny how fast a year goes by. So, yeah, but yeah, we're excited for that signal to open on Kector, and I know the town and Ladera, not me, but lots of people with Ladera do lots of on that. I do nothing. I just nod when they show me that. So as Chad indicated, this is the annexation where we are doing a sketch plan on the entire remaining 180 acres of Ladera. Can I drive or are you driving? Oh, there we go. It wasn't working on Planning Commission. As Chad went through in his presentation, there's 10 planning areas, similar to what we discussed in annexation, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 different product types within the mixed use project. We have been working with staff on a lot of the different access issues, open space issues, pedestrian issues, and think we've come to solutions on a number of them and located the access points thanks to Kim and Justin and a lot of hard work that they put in. As the map shows, we are going to take this forward to preliminary plat and to final plat, but the only final plats we'll do is on the blue lots. The yellow ones and the green will remain as tracks, and then as we move those forward and have users for those, we'll bring those forward into a preliminary plat and final plat. So those will be to come before you in the future. These are some of the access points that we have been discussing with staff. The new that we did not have last year at annexation is it's been determined that there'll be a signal kind of in the dead middle of the project there, which we think will help kind of slow Whitesell down a little bit and keep access going in the project and around the community in a better fashion. So, there we go. In the map, similar to what you've seen earlier, this highlights the access, the pedestrian access across the site, the access around the 2 reservoirs, the Timnath South North, good grant, the Timnath North Reservoir and the Timnath South Reservoir. And we had a design charrette a couple weeks ago with staff talking about how the South Reservoir will work and being able to access it from a pedestrian standpoint, not necessarily getting into the reservoir or having it active, but just how we're going to treat the south so that the reservoir so that it's an interactive, piece of open space. The 8 different types of connections on the right-hand side of this. We've put a lot of thought into this and hope to bring these forward as soon as possible. And then I think with that, I can give it back to Chad, and we're here tonight. We have members of our staff, and Tony Connell's here if we need to answer any questions. We're all welcome. You're welcome to ask any questions. We'll come and answer them. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Before we move on to questions, we will ask if there's any members of the public who wish to comment on this. Ms. Peters Garcia, did we have anyone sign up? Okay. Is there anyone present that did not sign up but would like to speak on this? Okay. I see no one, so we will close the public hearing portion. Council, questions for either staff or the applicant?
Yeah, could you put that slide back up, Chad? Sorry. I want to talk about pedestrian crossings. Keep going. There we go. That one. And I'm guessing that the number 7 pedestrian activated signal isn't going to go in for quite some time, since those are adjacent to lots that you're not planning on developing initially. When do you anticipate the light going in on Wetzel?
I believe, and Justin can probably answer it better, but when it meets warrants is usually when we install the signals. So I don't know when that would meet the warrant, but probably earlier in the process when we get the 2 large anchors just adjacent to the signal. I don't know if that alone would trigger it, but I'm guessing earlier in the process than later.
Yeah, and then down at Whitesell and County Road 5, there's a pedestrian crossing there. Is that going to have a signal there so people can safely get across the at least north-south?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, because that would be one area. I mean, I'd hate to have, once this gets built out, there's going to be a lot more bike traffic, pedestrian traffic, et cetera. So I would definitely want to see some kind of signaled crossing there, not necessarily across County Road 5, at least not at this point, but certainly north-south. And then farther up on Wetzel, where you do have early anticipated tenants or commercial development, that purple line, how are they going to get across the street there? There's no signal, there's no pedestrian activated, and yet it's likely to be your first busy spot.
Yeah, and we've spent a lot of time talking about the spacing of these. The north is really the roundabout. There is pedestrian connectivity across Whitesell around the roundabout.
Yeah, and the traffic's slower there, but also pretty busy.
Yeah.
It's very, very busy there. So I mean, I'm concerned about pedestrian traffic there ultimately, but also farther south where you have that retail sidewalk, public gathering space comment crossing there.
Yeah, we want safety just probably even more so than anybody.
Yeah.
So that people feel comfortable coming out here. So we'll continue to work with Justin and the staff and make sure that we get the proper locations for these and install them. The slower we can get people to go on Whitesell, the better it is for us.
And I presume that we'll enforce our new safety standards for pedestrian crossings. I know that's almost complete. not yet posted on the website. We've got a placeholder there, but I would presume that once those are affirmed and published, that they will apply, those standards will apply within Ladera, correct?
Yeah, correct. On this, in this phase, this is a sketch plan. So as we get into more details, once we know the tenants, we do have what's required is a traffic compliance letter. So that would include like the CFO warrants, you know, when the signal, our guidelines have been finalized. So we actually been working with them on those guidelines to help to make sure that we do have safe crossings. So that's kind of the next level. When we get into the details, we'll make sure that we address all those issues moving forward.
Right. And I mean, one of the other things, I guess you can look at this and you can plan and think about it, but until you really get the tenants in there and you get the traffic flowing and you see how the pedestrians are starting to move about, you may need to modify things to accommodate safe flow of both cars and people and bikes and all of that. So I'd hope we're sensitive to that as this starts developing. And those are my comments, questions. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I guess this is maybe a question for you first, Chad. I was just looking at the sketch plan process schedule, and I know nobody showed up for the neighborhood meeting on July 18th, but in terms of the first, second, third, and fourth submittal, can you just explain to me what might have changed between those submittals and how that might have worked in this process? Like, I guess I just want to make sure. Can you just walk me through maybe first, second, third, fourth submittal and that neighborhood meeting?
Yeah, of course. So as we've gone through the process, we've had a lot of discussions that we've already talked about access and connectivity within the site. So a lot of changes have come forward upon staff's request and conversations with the applicant to ensure that we are thinking of those items within the development. So added crossings, pedestrian crossings, where the access could be within the development. Those have all come in the last couple rounds within the development. As it was the initial submittal, it is a conceptual level, so it's a bubble diagram. So it's only gotten increased with kind of some of the requests and what is being represented within that to ensure that we are providing for those moving forward. As you did mention, there is the requirement for the neighborhood meeting, which was posted and notified for. However, the day of that meeting, we had no one that did show up and voice any concerns or feedback on the process. In addition, we haven't received any public comment, nor were there any comments within the Planning Commission hearing at last week's.
So just in terms of it, so I understand, like, there's so many submittals. Why have the neighborhood meetings so early on in the process?
So part of the requirement for a sketch plan is a little different than some of our other applications. It is required to have it earlier within the process to ensure that there is feedback. If there is feedback from residents surrounding members, that they can incorporate that into the plan set.
Okay.
However, without having any of that feedback, that was not included with the plan.
Okay, so it's better to get it early on from the.
Yeah, we try to,
rather than
it's,
late.
the
Perfect.
intent is to catch that early on and to ensure that some of that feedback could be implemented rather than we're already having scheduled a meeting. Unfortunately, we can't add it at this time. It ensures that it is part of the process.
Perfect. And so different parts of the process, we gather feedback from the community at different parts, right? So.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And I just have questions. So when we talk about utility and transportation, so if I'm reading this correctly, most of the drainage and stormwater is going to go into the South Reservoir. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And so everything that we're looking at here, new tenants, new everything, and the sketch plan will just connect and it'll go into the South Reservoir. So we'll just connect into that. Is that the plan?
That is the plan. We are also going to be sharing future applications with Ladera as well as staff to ensure that drainage and is adequate and being sent to the right area within this, which would be the reservoirs where it is designed and intended to be.
And I think this is a question for you, Mr. Nelson. I saw that you guys are going to do non-pot water on the property. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
Great. I know us and council have been talking a lot about that, so appreciate that the non-pot rights stayed with the property, so.
Yeah, especially in the North Pond is a very complex little pond. It does drainage, it does non-pot. It's got the pump house that's out there already. It looks like a little pond, but it's actually serves a lot of purposes. And the non-pot is a great way to not use, treated water to irrigate, so.
So will most of everything that we see tonight in this sketch plan be non-pot then?
We believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we believe we can serve the majority of the development. Tony is the one who spent a lot of time on this with the non-pot. So
Okay.
Tony's worked really hard on this to make sure the non-pot works, and we drilled 2 separate wells, so to make sure it worked. So.
Okay. And Chad, in the process, I know, can you remind me when kind of the sprinklers and all that comes into play? Is that farther down in the review process?
So within open space areas that will be identified in the final plat within the irrigation plans, and then each subsequent site plan would also have those irrigation plans represented as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I would presume that at least in the open space areas, native grasses and things like that are the primary landscaping tools.
They are, and the governor signed a bill last year to make sure that is what we use
Because
in
it's
open space.
non-functional.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
With respect to the neighborhood meeting, do we know how many folks were sent notice on that?
So the notice for the public hearing had 10 property owners that were adjacent to this, so it would likely be the same with that. It was also posted within the town's website as well, but mailed directly to, I believe, 10 to a dozen property owners.
Okay. And then it also appears in the weekly development email,
Correct,
right? Notifying
yes.
folks. Okay. So for folks that are looking to tune in this sort of stuff, subscribing to that is a good way to keep up to date on these.
Yeah, I would certainly agree. We try to keep that updated with any new development that comes in as soon as it does, to keep you up to date as soon as possible, and then also update with neighborhood meetings and public hearings as well.
Okay. Your staff report, Chad, mentions the potential for ride-in, ride-out off of County Road 5. And I just want to make sure I understand this. Is that what would be in planning area 10? And would those be driveways that would be separate driveways from Weitzel where it intersects? I guess I'm trying to make sure we're not designating Weitzel as a ride-in, ride-out.
Correct. Yes. So in the staff report, right in, right out of County Road 5 would be in the planning area 9 and 10 to get access to those areas. There would be full movement access to the south from Weitzel to get into those planning areas as well.
Okay. And then what is the process or plan as it pertains to traffic control at Weitzel and County Road 5? What triggers improvements there? What might those improvements look like?
Yeah, so we had our consultant also look at it, and they also did a master transportation plan. So with it being a T intersection, and also a lot of the people would not make a left because they would be coming from Harmony anyway. There's not the volume. So it's going to be maybe way down the line before a traffic signal would be required there. Which would be a lot of it's the volume on 5, which, still is at a lower volume at this time. So we don't foresee that happen probably, maybe 5 to 10 years, but again, it depends on development. But that is, again, with each compliance letter, we'll have them relook at that, reassess it. But even our own traffic consultant said that's not needed really for a while, so.
Okay. And then with respect to planning area 1, which is the open space, what kind of triggers that process in terms of when that gets designed and when that gets implemented? What I can say is, can that be the last thing done, or is there something that requires that to come along as the rest of the development comes along?
So we are actually working on that as we go through the planning process and how exactly the open space does phase within this plan. I do believe that there's connections that could be made within that area that would be beneficial to this development. But we are having those conversations to ensure the appropriate times for those to occur within the development.
Okay. But right now, there's no specific triggers that it has to happen within a certain amount of time or
There is
anything
not,
like that?
no.
Okay. And Mr. Nelson, I'm assuming that developing that open space helps you market the rest of this. Would that be a fair assumption?
Absolutely, yeah. And we also want to work closely again with staff on how the bridge and County Road 5 develops and make sure we integrate, Plan Area 1 with the County Road 5 expansion and make sure it works together. And I think we can do that. But yeah, we look forward to getting that up and running. And we're, when we say we spend a lot of time with staff, we've spent a lot of time with staff talking about these things. So.
Great. All right. Council, any other questions? Okay. Chad, anything before we move on?
Nothing else to add.
Grant?
No, we appreciate the time and we'll continue to talk and irritate your staff for a long time to come. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right. This time, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 18, series 2025, a resolution approving the Ladera South sketch plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion. Councilmember Lake. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, and I'm gonna support this motion. I think staff have done a good job here laying this out. After looking through the staff report and all those, let me pull it up here, I apologize. And looking through the review criteria, I'm definitely in support of this. I think that I support the way that the movement of coming through these sketch plan. I definitely support that the utility and transportation plan is adequate at this time.
From Jenkins.
Yeah, I'll be supporting this as well. I think it meets the review criteria. I do, as we move forward, want to keep a close eye on pedestrian and bicycle traffic through the property to ensure that we don't have any safety conflicts. But I know the new safety plan will help there, but I think that'll come as the site plans develop. So thanks for your work on this.
I also agree that it meets the review criteria. I believe that it's in adherence to both comprehensive plan and the designated zoning in the area. I think the sketch plan does a good job of providing multiple uses in the area. I appreciate the time and multiple revisions that went into discussing movement between the various planning areas. I think that's very important. I'm excited to see the multiple planning areas for recreation and open space. Recent town surveys have shown that that's definitely a priority. While there's not a mechanism to make those improvements happen sooner rather than later, I hope that market forces and marketability help to move that forward. So I will support it as well. Any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, I did a little math on that, and the open space percentage on on this sketch plan is right around 41% open space. I'm assuming the criteria is what, 25% or 20%?
I believe, yeah, 20%.
20% minimum. So they're more than double on the open space, which is really great. And the use of non-potable water and also, even though it's state regulated, native grasses, native plants is really great. So we appreciate that.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the resolution approving the Ladera South sketch plan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Sketch plan passes 4-0. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. All right, we have one final agenda item this evening, which is a proposed executive session. At this time, is there a motion to enter into an executive session pursuant to section 24-6-4024A concerning the purchase, acquisition, transfer, or sale of a real property interest and pursuant to 24-6-4024B and E for conferences with an attorney for the town for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions related to enforcement of reimbursement obligations of Timnath Lands LLC and to determine positions relative to matters that might be subject to negotiations, develop strategy for negotiations, and instruct negotiators regarding such reimbursement obligations.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of moving to executive session as read signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, we will move to executive session. Based on that, I hate to be rude, but we need to.
Have a good evening.
Okay, we have concluded our executive session and are now back on the main agenda. The executive session was our last agenda item, so if there's no objection, we will stand adjourned.